Here's another Tony Alcina TMP. Agreed. So I think we're looking for a 2-Rax poke into a 2-1-1. I haven't seen a TVP from you in a while, I guess. Just, you know, luck of the draw, you didn't get a lot of Protosses to play against. So we got the immediate concussive shells, the immediate 2-Rax stuff. Because you 2-Rax in TVT, you have a ton of practice at 2-Raxing, so I expect to see that you did it well. It looks like you're missing... Yeah, you're missing 2 workers. You're missing basically one marauder. I guess you got your second Rax a little late, and you haven't started concussive combat shields. But I don't know if you were planning to or not, because in TVP sometimes I skip combat shields in order to get a quicker factory. So the big deal about 2-Raxing is not to get caught out on the field against a 1-basing Protoss after he's done his first warping. So you see how almost everyone's going to complete their first warping right now. So right at 6:30 he's got his first warping done, and that makes him suddenly go from having a tiny army that you can abuse with your 2-Rax poke to having a big army that he can push you back with. So this poke really wants to arrive before the 6:30 mark, do a little bit of damage, and be gone before the 6:30. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Like, I don't know that you want to be retreating, is what I'm saying. Because stalkers are fast. If he has that many stalkers, you can't really run away, because he'll just kill you. So you want to trade as well as you can, because these guys are basically dead. And until your marauders are dead, you can trade really well. But once your last marauder dies, everything that's left is just gonna die without doing any damage. Because without concussive shells, you can just So this was great. You kind of walked back, he chased you, and you killed 2 more stalkers and you ran away. That was kind of lucky. He really should have been able to pick you apart with that stuff. Good job. This factory is going down at 7 minutes. That's a good time for the factory. I would like to see it at 6:30 or whatever, but basically just whenever you can keep up 2-Rax production and afford the factory is when you throw it down. And 7 minutes is fine. That's about the right time. So you're keeping up relatively constant pressure with this 2-Rax stuff, but I'm kind of opposed to what you're doing. Because like I said, after about 6 minutes and 30 seconds, the Protoss will tend to be stronger. So continuing to do this pressure is just going to make your eventual poke a lot weaker. That, again, went really well for you. You traded really well, so don't listen to me, man. But if this Protoss hadn't been so crappy, that would have been bad. So the army size benchmarks from Protoss and Terran gave you $500 a minute of army spending for the first 8 minutes. So at 8 minutes you have this $2,000 army. But then you're kind of expected to have a third building producing stuff that's going to get you at 9 minutes to 2750. And if you don't have 3 buildings, like in this game you don't have at 9 minutes, there's absolutely no way to hit that benchmark. So if we look, you have 2,000 at 9 minutes. That's terrible. And it's actually 2,300. So you're basically $500 behind. And this is a pitfall of the 2-Rax poke, is that if you stick with it too long and you forget that you were supposed to be using those other 2 buildings, it's really easy to just think of yourself as having a strong army, because 2-Rax gives you a strong army early. But at about 7.5 minutes until your first air unit comes out, 2-Rax no longer gives you a strong army. It gives you enough to defend with, but not enough to be aggressive. You're throwing down additional racks. I really don't like that. But your money piled up, and what else are you going to do? You wouldn't be able to spend it if you didn't throw down additional racks. The reason your money piled up is because you weren't spending any money on tanks and air units and stuff, and all of your gas was going into marauders and stim and concussive shells instead. And so there's just, you needed to be getting marines and spending your gas on units instead of upgrades. At this point, you're looking kind of bad. It's 11 minutes, and you've got what you should have had at 10 minutes. And you're going to go back. So here we go. Here's our little push out. A reasonable number of workers. You've got a Banshee, and you're pushing. So this push is really late. Again, you want to start pushing at 9:30 and arrive at 10 minutes. You don't want to be pushing it at 12 or 13 minutes because he could have all sorts of stuff. It feels to me, I mean, he's getting Colossus and he's getting Colossus range, so the timing of when you arrived was perfect. But that's just dumb luck. You didn't know when he started the Colossus. You just got lucky. So you're going to win this first fight hands down very easily. Try to move around as long as you aim move, this should be an easy fight. And it is, and you're pulling further and further in. But I'm worried about what's going to happen when those Colossus come out. Because you're sitting on mostly Marine SCV, which is very susceptible to Colossus stuff. Oh, and with Stim, you're going to... So, yeah, you're going to rip his first army to shreds. And from here, it looks like you basically win, right? Because you've done $4,000. He's done 2,000. You've got a huge army left over. Your income back home is not huge, but it's enough to keep funding your buildings. Again, this is why I didn't really like the additional 2 racks. Is now you've got a $600, $700, $800, $900 income, and a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, a $1,300 infrastructure. Your infrastructure can support literally double what your income can support. But I guess if you're missing queue ups, then you need the extra racks so that you I don't know. I wish that your macro was good enough that you didn't need those buildings, but because you slipped on macro, it's good. You did the right thing in the game you played. But if you were able to keep up your production better, you would. So this is a pitfall that a lot of people fall. Killing the Nexus and killing the... and then sitting back. Okay, so you win this fight, and at the end of this fight, he's got 3 stalkers and almost nothing else. Anytime you win the first fight that severely, you don't need to kill this Nexus. You don't need to kill these geysers. Your income is lower because you pulled SCVs. Your reinforcements are going to be about, not great. But your army is huge. Take this army, walk up there, and kill him. Kill him. The killing blow in TVP is these pylons. That's the killing blow. It's not Nexus. It's not income. You don't want to be reducing his income. Because again, income is something that matters over the next 3 minutes. It's not something that matters right. Reducing his income is a late game winning strategy. Especially killing those gas geysers. Like, that didn't buy you anything. So the longer you wait, the more Colossus he's going to have. He gets Colossus range and force field, and that's kind of sad. And he's starting to build up his stalker numbers again. Once he's got 2 Colossus, it's going to be even more scary. And pushing up this ramp, once he's got 2 Colossus, you can't now. You're stuck at the bottom of the ramp. And this is a really common pitfall of this sort of push. Is now that you're stuck at the bottom of the ramp, what can you do? Right? You got to expo and you got to throw down a second starport and start Vikings heavily and try to keep this contained up to the bottom of the ramp. But 3 Colossus is this magic number where he's just going to rip everything off. So, this is very sad. But this has happened to me a bunch of times. This has happened to everyone a bunch of times. Just don't let it happen again. Basically, the problem was you didn't sprint up when you had a huge lead, and now that he has 3 Colossus, there's nothing you can really do against 3 Colossus except spam double starport Vikings. And even then, he's got a bunch of stalkers, so it comes down to a micro battle. Can his Colossus do enough damage before they die so that his remaining troops can mop up your ground force, or can he keep his Colossus alive while killing your Vikings and surviving your ground force, or so on and so forth. So just the world becomes a much rougher place once there are 3 Colossus out, and my win percentage after 3 Colossus is pretty low. So you're kind of trying to compete in the long-term economy thing, and it's great because his main is mining out, and you have this huge income to him, and your army is beautiful. But just composition-wise, there's nothing that's so you just get stuff. I wanted to show when you lost at the bottom of the ramp, you lost a composition battle. You didn't lose an army size or a macro battle, right? I didn't look at the numbers the first time through, but I'm gonna now. Come kill his army. Dead army. And And the whole point of the 10-minute timing push is so that you're never going to have to fight 3 Colossus, because 3 Colossus is not killable. So if you'd pushed up the ramp then, he would have 1 force field, maybe 0. I guess if you'd pushed up before you knocked down the 2. But now you're doomed, and a Colossus is coming out. You know more Colossus are coming out. At this point, go home, bunker up, siege tank at your natural, and start your double starports and your mercenary. And it's going to take a long time for you to even catch up to the number of Vikings you're going to need to beat these Colossus. But he's on 1 base, and you know, you've got a bigger income than him, so it's okay to go home at this point. My point is, you're never going to get up a ramp against Colossus in the century. It just doesn't. Especially without Vikings. So this is the fight where the game ends, right? He's going to wait for his 3rd Colossus because he's very patient and wise. Here goes 3 Colossus. Game over, right? So at this point, your army is smaller than his. It shouldn't really be smaller than his. I feel like you threw down this command center, and these guys haven't constantly been mining and whatever. He's had a smaller income than you since the push, and at the point of the push, you had a bigger army than him. You should still have a bigger army than him. You've got 20 more supply. What's going on here? Because of your contain, you know every penny he has is being dumped into army, right? There's no sense in teching when the game might end in a second, and making more probes isn't going to help him because he doesn't have another base. So you know that every penny he pulls out of the ground is going into his army. And in order to fight every penny he's got going into his army, you've got to put every penny you've got into your army or bunker up. And this is why I like retreating once he's got Colossus out at the top of a ramp like that. Because if you spend $400 on this command center and you spend more money on this extra tech lab, and you know, the money that doesn't go straight into army, that's all money that he's catching up with. Also, your reinforced distance is a lot longer. So yeah, he had a bigger army, and I thought he had a bigger army. He had the composition advantage, but it was like double bad. Anyway, I think we kind of understand what happened in this game.